the world kind of stopped for a moment because we got some big news. And no, this wasn't, where is Russell Wilson going to play next year, or whether Justin Fields is going to get traded. No, the world stopped for a moment because our friend and mentor, the one and only Peter King, announced that he was retiring from writing his weekly column yesterday.
Yeah.
This was a big moment.
It was huge. I can't believe, with all the things going on in sports, everybody I know texted me about this story. Nothing about the Bears draft pick or who's running at the combine. Everyone's like, wow, did you see the Peter King news? Which I think is a testament to Peter.
Okay, well, the man himself has agreed to join us today, fresh off the retirement news. Peter, congratulations. I would say congratulations on a job done, because I know that's one of your favorite lines. But congratulations on an amazing career. How you feeling this morning?
Well, I feel great this morning, having my morning coffee, just finished my oatmeal and walnuts, and just relaxing a little bit here in Brooklyn. About to take the dog out for a good walk up to Prospect Park, and life is good.
Well, then that means nothing's changed, and I don't even believe that you're actually retiring. But before we get to your career and some of the amazing moments you've had over the years, you retired, and then you also kind of hit us with something else in that column, which was you believe that the winds are sort of swirling around the Bears trading the number 1 overall pick and sticking with Justin Fields. Explain yourself, sir.
I really don't know what's going to happen, Maggie. I think it could go either way, and I've not talked to Ryan Poles, so I don't know what's going to happen. But I'm experienced enough at this to know that at this time of year, that especially when you're about to go to the scouting combine and you believe strongly that there is a quarterback in this draft. And look, we all know that quarterback science is incredibly inexact. But if you believe there's a quarterback in this draft, I mean, last year, if you were Ryan Poles, you were looking at a 5'10 quarterback that you weren't sure was going to be able to transition to the NFL. You had the number 1 pick and C.J. Stroud, who was being dogged by a stupid intelligence test, processing test called the S2. So there wasn't quite the sure thing. And look, maybe Ryan Poles won't think that this quarterback is the sure thing either. And in my opinion, absolutely unequivocally, I think he should keep Justin Fields. And I think he should build his team. I put a scenario in my column last week where essentially I believe that Ryan Poles could end up with 8 or 9 picks in the top 2 rounds of the next 2 drafts if he trades the number 1 pick in this draft. And so you say, well, wait a second, that quarterback might really be good. And let's just say, Maggie, that the bird in the hand is a B quarterback, that Justin Fields is not ever going to be a top 5 quarterback in the NFL. Maybe one year he's 8. Maybe he averages out to be about 12. I don't know. But let's just say your quarterback is good enough and provides you with some great moments. Imagine if you have a team around him like the 2023 Kansas City Chiefs. And to me, I would rather build a solid team around a good quarterback who might not be great than take a chance to get a quarterback who you think has a better chance to be great than Justin Fields. But and then, basically take your chances with that guy. So to me, I'd hang on to Fields if I was Ryan Poles.
Peter, we were looking back at your career over the last couple of days. A lot of people have, looking back some great old columns. You've been writing since the early 80s, so you've seen the sure things in the draft, and Caleb Williams is one of those. Who's the ultimate, over the years, sure thing quarterback, either that you were or people were telling you, like, this guy cannot miss?
Well, I mean, one of my best memories, and, knowing where we are right now, one of my best memories as a writer for Sports Illustrated was taking a VHS tape with 30 plays of Peyton Manning and 30 plays of Ryan Leaf and taking them around to 6 quarterback experts around the country. I took him to Mike Shanahan, took it to Bill Walsh, took it to Phil Simms, took it to a couple of GMs. And took it to Sid Gilman, one of the greatest football coaches of all time, in his dotage in Southern California. And I watched the tape and I asked them all to give me the quarterback who you would take if you had the first pick in the draft. And it was 6-0 for Peyton Manning. And I wrote about that. And I remember Bill Polian called and he wanted to know some of what the guys were saying and everything like that. But here's what I remember about that. Coming back, writing this story, and one of my editors at SI saying, "Are you sure? Are you sure?" I said, "Why?" He goes, "Because the world seems to like Ryan Leaf a little bit better." I said, "Hey, there's nothing I can do about that. I'm just reporting what these brilliant people said to me." And it turns out I was right. But at the time, ESPN, the magazine, wrote a long story about how, in essence, if the Colts pick Peyton Manning, they'll be sorry. And so, at the time, it looked like Ryan Leaf was the man. And obviously, we know how that turned out.
Peter King is an award-winning journalist who announced that he is retiring from his weekly column. Yesterday, he made that announcement. He joins the show right now. Talk about quarterbacks, Peter. Who's the best one you've ever seen?
Well, I'll answer that in 2 ways. Number one, the best one for winning and for leading and longevity without any question is Tom Brady. And I don't think anybody could really have a question about that. The best quarterback that I ever saw in terms of being able to dominate a game and make you lose your breath was Dan Marino. But the best quarterback for modern times is Patrick Mahomes, and I don't think there's any question about that. And one of the things I marvel at with Mahomes, and I wrote about this in my column on 4th and 1 in the Super Bowl, he had a play where he could do 3 different things. He could throw to Travis Kelce running across the formation. He could throw to Rashee Rice, basically finding a hole in the defense somewhere. And both of those guys were open enough. But you know what he did? He said, "I'm taking this myself." Patrick Mahomes is the humble, but also he's the guy who was the best athlete in your high school, who, when the basketball game was down to the final seconds, you say, "Just give the ball to Joe and let him make something happen." He's the quarterback on your football team. Just give the ball to Joe. He'll make something happen. And that's exactly what Patrick Mahomes does. And the other thing that was great about that moment on 4th and 1, I asked him, said, "What's going through your mind in the huddle? If you don't make a yard, you lose the game. It's over. This is sudden death." As Sean Payton told me, this is match point. And Patrick Mahomes said, "I never thought of that." I mean, and that's what great players do. They don't clutter their heads with silly stuff that sports writers think.
Peter, we're having the director of the Dynasty on later about the Patriots, and you're all over this documentary. I don't know if you've seen it yet.
Yeah, they should give you royalties or something. You're in this thing a lot.
But there's some mysteries that are not totally answered. There's a lot, Spygate, Deflate-gate, Malcolm Butler, there's some mysteries out there. What's the story since you've been covering the NFL that you feel like you just did not get, that you wish you had gotten, that there's still truth out there that you haven't been able to discover or that other people haven't been able to discover?
Well, Andrew, probably the biggest mistake I made in my career that I regret to this day, and when I think about it, my heart sinks, is I confirmed the ESPN story about the deflated footballs after Deflate-gate first hit the scene. It was a Monday night, and I called 2 people who I was sure would know exactly what happened, and they both confirmed the ESPN story. And so I wrote it, talked about it, and it turns out I was wrong. And that brought me a lot of shame, and that really bothers me to this day, that I was wrong, because it doesn't matter that who I talk to. It doesn't matter who told me anything. It's my rear end on the line when I say something, when I confirm a story, and I was wrong. And that's something that will haunt me, really. It bothers me, literally bothers me to this day. But having said that, I've always thought that in that case, that was Roger Goodell killing an ant with a sledgehammer. Because I wrote this at the time that Tom Brady, for the previous 10 years, had been allowed, when he had home games, his equipment guys had control of the footballs. And when you go on the road, your equipment guys didn't have control of the footballs. And that had been happening for 10 years in the NFL since 2006. And I will never forget this. I sat, it took me about 4 hours one night. I figured out it didn't take me 4 hours, it took me a while. I figured out his passer rating in away games and in home games over that 10-year period. And it was something like 99.8 to 99.5. It was the same.
Yeah.
It was the same. And what really ticked me off about that is that, Roger Goodell commissions this study, and the study says it's more likely than not that Brady had a role in these footballs being doctored with. Well, first of all, it didn't mean anything in the first place. And second of all, you don't have absolute proof that he did have something to do with it. That always really bothered me a lot, both ways. Me screwing it up, and I think the NFL screwing up the discipline.
Well, but Peter King is joining us, announced that he's retiring from his Football Morning in America column, his weekly column. He announced that yesterday, and he joins us now. Seems like your relationship with Brady, though, is fine. You went to his home in Montana, somewhere in Montana, post Super Bowl, and got to talk with him. And it seems like you guys are on good terms. You just spent a lot of time with the Chiefs, right? And you're with Andy Reid, you're with Patrick Mahomes right after they win the Super Bowl, just a couple weeks ago. The Chiefs are trying to go for a three-peat. What can the Chiefs learn from the Patriots, whether it's something they want to do the same way that New England did or do differently than New England did? Because New England is the last dynasty we had, and the Chiefs are trying to be the next one.
I think I would answer the question in a slightly different way, Maggie, in that I think the Chiefs have the answers to the test right now. And you know what the answer is? It's a guy who Chicago Bear fans probably still revile to this day. And that's Matt Nagy, the former head coach and now the offensive coordinator of Kansas City. And you know what he does for Andy Reid? He's his film nerd. He looks up plays in his massive file of plays that when your offense is in trouble, and their offense was in a huge funk this year. And so what does Matt Nagy do? They're playing New England. They're struggling mightily on offense. And they had practiced this play that Matt Nagy had found that was 80 years old from the 40s, from a Penn Columbia football game. And they had this weird formation. And I was at the game, and I'm watching the game, and I'm saying, what is this? It's Patrick Mahomes lined up in a 3-point stance behind the guard. It's Jerick McKinnon lined up as the quarterback, and all these other players lined up, in different spots. And you can see the Patriots are doing this. They're looking all over the place. Bill Belichick prepares them tremendously. But unfortunately, Bill did not scout the Penn Columbia game in 1942.
And that will haunt him forever.
That stupid Bill Belichick, right?
Yeah.
He didn't scout that game. And now here, the Kansas City Chiefs, totally in trouble on offense, run this play. It's the first touchdown of the game, and they go on to beat the Patriots. I only bring that up because, look, the Kansas City Chiefs, like New England, did not have a great wide receiver and did not have a great running back through most of their Super Bowl era. Over the last 2 years, the Chiefs don't have a 1,000-yard rusher. They don't have a 1,000-yard wide receiver. And yet they've won 2 Super Bowls and gone 7-0 in the playoffs since Tyreek Hill walked off campus. What's that all about? It's about winning with what you have and being smarter than the other teams. And right now, that's what Kansas City is.
Peter King is joining us here for a couple more minutes. Good enough to jump on the day after he announces that he's retiring after 40-plus years of covering the NFL. And, Peter, you said when we were texting yesterday, what am I going to do? Well, Perloff and I have come up with the top 5 things Peter King should do in his retirement. Are you ready for our top 5?
I'm ready. Let's have it.
All right, let's get the drum roll going. Number 5, ayahuasca.
Oh, I can go to Peru and do ayahuasca with Aaron Rodgers?
Yeah.
I think I would rather be in a pitch dark house for 5 days with Aaron Rodgers.
Number 4, you can begin the next 40 years of your career covering the XFL.
No, I'm not covering spring football. Get out of here. I'm going to go to spring training in 3 weeks.
Yeah.
And that starts my retirement, quite honestly.
Number 3 on the list of 5 things Peter King should do in his retirement: become an honorary Kelsey brother.
Yes, I could do that. You know
Yeah.
why? Because I'm wild and crazy, and I am willing to take my shirt off in front of 80,000 people and pound my chest. The one thing I can't do, I can't leap into a luxury box the way Jason Kelsey does. But yes, I'd be very good at that otherwise.
Number 2, switch to decaf, Peter.
Hey, look, I have no caffeine after noon every day now, Maggie. So this basically is it. This Italian roast right here. That's it for the day, and then I'm off it.
And the number 1 thing Peter King should do in his retirement: get blackout drunk.
Get blackout drunk.
Yeah.
Well, the last time I did that, I was at Ohio University and I fell asleep in a snowbank, and luckily somebody woke me up. So, or else there would not have been the Peter King career.
Peter, I want to add, by the way, that you've gotten a lot of thank yous. You don't even know the role you played in my bizarre career, and you've laughed at the trajectory. In 2004, before I got hired by SI, you and Paul Fichtenbaum took me to a Mets game, and you gave me the thumbs up to be your editor. Huge mistake on your part. And then I was part of the dream team with you and Paul and Don, and nothing but amazing memories. And thank you.
Yeah, we had some fun, Andrew, and you were great.
You
were an incredible editor of the column. You were very, very conscientious, and you were very good, because I used to file copy with 16 typos in it.
Yeah.
And then it'd show up and, wow, your copy's so clean. I said, yeah, I'm so conscientious.
Well, I told Maggie before the show, like, no one wanted to edit you, because everyone, like, if you made a mistake, Paul Tagliabue would call Terry McDonald and be like, hey, what's this that Peter wrote? So all eyes were always on your Monday column. So we put a lot of attention, but you were amazing to work with, and it's and you're such a great writer, too. I know a lot of people have been saying that, but I know we feel that way, too.
Yeah, and Peter, quickly, I mean, people have been saying this about you for a long time. Your eye for talent is amazing. You understand what great writing is. You've seen and fostered and mentored so many great people. You believed in video, too, at Sports Illustrated, which a lot of people didn't. You were generous with your time when we were starting a digital video department. You've always been on the cutting edge of things like that. You've wanted the new technology. You've wanted to expand the circle. And not a lot of people are in that position. So from my vantage point, thank you for legitimizing in a lot of ways what we did at SI Video and on the digital side. Because if you didn't buy in, nobody was going to buy in. And you did, and that made it, that made it cool for the other writers to do it too. So thank you very much for helping us.
Hey, Maggie, one last thing I would say.
Yeah.
I think it's really, really important. And if you're a young journalist listening to this right now, please diversify, because you have absolutely no idea what the future holds. You don't know how stories are going to be told. When Emily Kaplan went to college, she lived in my town in Montclair, New Jersey. Emily Kaplan, now who does the stuff between the glass for ESPN, who we hired at the MMQB at Sports Illustrated. I told her, do something different every year. Do a podcast one year, write for the web one year, write for the school paper, do TV. You know why? You just simply don't know what the future holds. And that's really the advice I would give some young kids right now.
Peter, thank you for this. We appreciate it. We're still going to call you, by the way. You might be retiring
I may
from
not
writing.
pick up, but yes, you can call me.
We're still going to call you because, we've got questions about Jerry Jones and the Cowboys. Like, we can't exist without, your expertise.
Better idea. Lunch in Brooklyn. You, me, and Maggie one afternoon soon.
Let's do it. But no, Maggie likes being back in Jersey at 11 o'clock in the morning. She'll never have lunch in Brooklyn. Forget it.
No, that never happening. Not even for you two. Peter, you're the best. Enjoy spring training if we don't talk to you before then. Thank you.
Take care, guys. Thank you.
Appreciate that. Peter King.
Wow.
I know.
Long time with Peter. Yeah. You have no idea. The little post-traumatic 3 a.m. Andrew, I'm going to file another 4,700 words on that Broncos win. I'm like, he's like, I talked to Peyton Manning, Emmanuel Sanders, Gary Kubiak, Mike Shannon. The guy could talk to everybody and got great quotes out of all of them. So he was hard to edit because it was so darn good.
I mean, and he's like coming up, he's got the game-winning play. What it's called. Where did it come from? Corn dog, a variation on corn dog. It's like you're in the locker room. And that was one of the great things he did.
I do agree. There's not going to be another Peter King because the industry's changed so much. You don't have time to write like you used to for magazines. The economy of the industry has changed. So it's kind of, I don't think we'll ever see another Peter King. Although Peter, you're right. Pretty much everybody who's good now worked for Peter at some point.
I mean, he gets it. He totally gets it and is generous with his time.